You've met plenty of financial advisors. They're charismatic. They're the person that can host the dinner party. Everybody loves them. They're magnetic. And a lot of founders I see, that's how they've scaled their business that's based on them. As we coach a lot, it's how to build a business that not only, it doesn't become your life, it betters your life. And to get scale of any kind, not everything can fall on you. We all know that. That's business 101. So I'm curious your take on models and basically being able to distill this wisdom out of maybe a very charismatic founder that has that magnetic personality that maybe they're 60 years old, they've been doing this for 30 years, but now they've got the next guy in line, the young 25, 30-year-old go-getter. And one of the biggest frustrations I see in finance is, they just don't get it. I can't get them to close that sale or meet with that person. But to me, it's the model that can also be that foundational piece of passing that knowledge on. I know you've worked in finance a lot. I know that's kind of a big question, but what are your thoughts around just that concept in general?
Yeah, it's interesting. So a couple of quick observations. I've had the real pleasure of spending a reasonable amount of time with Richard Branson, including some really intimate conversations. At one point, he and I and one other person having lunch together and stuff like that. And you know, at one point I asked him, you know, you are still the face of Virgin. So how does that work? And he said, no company in the world becomes great without a human face, which was an interesting insight. So much of us are obsessed with how do you step out of the business and let the business be a business. Now, he doesn't do anything operationally. He doesn't have a diary and he doesn't keep a to-do list. He just has a notebook and he makes a note of something and then he tells the manager who's most responsible for that and then expects that it's going to happen. You know, he doesn't follow up or anything like that. So he's a great delegator, but no great company became great without a human face. And so the personality is really important, right? And that means you've got to be able to trust that people are going to deliver. And so one of the things that we use models for is in every company, there is what I call company genius behind it. There's a core genius that differentiates it in the market. 70 to 80 to 90% of what everybody does is the same as everybody else. It's the other 10 to 15% that is the intuition that you get paid the premium for. And so that financial advisor that's been at it for 40 years has a ton of intuition. And company genius usually comes from the founder. I've got a model that I call the origins of genius. It comes from the founder or the owner. And one of the challenges in handing on a body of work or a life's work to somebody younger is we don't have a great way of articulating it. Where once again, we're just talking to them in words, expecting them to take notes and remember it. But if we distill that intuitive genius into organized genius and build a model around it, now we can actually teach the model, and the model contains the genius. The model becomes the core of the company, and then the founder or the owner just has to be the personality of the company. What's the problem is most owners are trying to be the personality of the company and the core of the company. Make your genius, turn that into a model and make that the core of the company. Here's how we do what we do and deliver it to people, and be the personality of the company and host a dinner and, you know, bring people in, but know that all of these young people have a framework and a model. The problem with youth and the advantage of youth is their energy level. It's their advantage, but it also means people move at a pace faster than perhaps insight. You know, insight is slow and energy is fast, and that's kind of the mismatch. So, you know, if you examine all the great companies in the world, they all have a human face, which is fine, but make sure it's the personality of the company. It isn't the core of the company, which means distill what you do down into frameworks that you can teach, and then people sell the framework. Sell the framework. It's like a blueprint for the brain that sits between the concept, which is financial planning, which is an abstract, and reality, which is someone's got a great financial future that has actually occurred for them now. What's the blueprint for the brain that sits in the middle? It's your framework, your model. It's how you unpack this thing. It's the core genius of the company. that is the distillation of people having taken hundreds, if not thousands of people down that green line in the past, and decoding the gateways to walk through to make that happen. So, you know, we've got these 5 financial worlds, but what are the gateways inside that? What's the frameworks? What are the plans and things inside of that? So I do think, you know, for a company to be saleable as an asset, it can't be dependent upon the work effort of the owner, but it can be dependent upon the personality of the owner and get it to a saleable point, because anybody that's going to buy that company is buying it thinking they're going to do a better job than the previous owner. And they completely discount the importance of the personality of the owner. So build your business off the back of your personality, but not off the back of your hard labor. And distill that genius into frameworks and have the team work through the frameworks. It's still a saleable asset. It'll drive the business, but people need to be able to believe in people. People don't trust machines. People don't trust technology. People need to be able to believe in people. I need to know there's a human, you know, operating on me, not a robot.